Mochi Health is here to help you start your weight loss journey with caring, personalized support. Meet one-on-one with board-certified obesity doctors and registered dietitians who truly listen and understand your unique needs. Eligible patients can access affordable GLP-1 medications delivered right to their door each month. No insurance? No problem. Mochi Health accepts FSA and HSA, making care accessible and affordable. And with 24/7 customer service, you'll never feel alone on your path to better health. Get started with Mochi Health today. Take the free quiz at joinmochi.com and use code AUDIO40 at checkout for $40 off your first month of membership. That's joinmochi.com with promo code AUDIO40.
This is the Weekly Scramble, a place where we chat about life over a cold one or two. It's time to belly up to the pod with Mike Fratelloni and your host, Chris Reavers.
That's right. It's time for the Weekly Scramble podcast. My name is Chris Reavers. With me, as always, his name is Mike Fratelloni. Hello, Michael.
How you doing, Reavers?
I'm doing well. We've got a lot to get to on today's episode of the podcast. But first, we do want to encourage you. It's funny. I ran into somebody at Back to the 50s, and they said, Reavers, I love your show with Mike.
Wow.
But I want to interact with you guys. I want to email the show. So you can do that a couple of ways. You can go to the website. The Weekly Scramble podcast website, and you can click on the tab, email the show. You can also do that from our big brother podcast, Garage Logic, and do it there as well. And if you email the show, it just goes to all of us, and you can do it that way. Or you can just email me directly at creavers@garagelogic.com, and it's that easy because it's kind of neat. I ran into, in fact, I got to tell you a funny story. The guy that I ran into that said that, he also said, "Hey, I know your uncle."
Your uncle?
And I said, "You're kidding." I said, "Are you from Faribault?" And he said, "Well, I lived in Faribault for a time. I worked at Hardee's, and I worked for your Uncle Chuck. My Uncle Chuck used to be the owner and manager of the Hardee's restaurant in Faribault, Minnesota."
Wow, lucky guy.
And I said, "Oh, that's so cool," because my Uncle Chuck's awesome. Mm-hmm. He says, "Yeah, he fired me."
Uh-oh.
And I went, "Oh, did he?" He's like, "Yeah, but I was drinking on the job."
Sure. That pretty much answers that, right? I love when people are justified. It's I deserved it.
I met him and his significant other. They could not have been nicer. They were so cool. But that's the kind of crowd we rock at Back to the 50s at the Great Minnesota Get Together.
Okay, we are doing some pre-show stuff, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to ask for a brief favor, and I'm going to try to explain it.
Go ahead.
Okay. So many people listen to this podcast. You listen to it on the Garage Logic feed. Right?
Yep.
So you're fans of Garage Logic and you listen to a Garage Logic feed. One thing that Reavers and I are we're having a little bit of problem with is getting the bigger guests to come onto our show, because many people, when we say we'd like you to be on the Weekly Scramble, they go to our Weekly Scramble feed, and our Weekly Scramble feed doesn't have a ton of reviews. It has like 90 or 80 or something like that, right?
Sure.
So, but GL has a ton of views, so GL looks, and we're in the GL feed, so we have tens of thousands of listeners, right? Any interviewee would like to have tens of thousands of listeners. But I'm going to ask you, if you have a chance and you follow us, if you're listening to us in podcast format, go to your aggregator, look for the Weekly Scramble podcast, follow it, and like it or review it with a 5-star review if you could. 5-star reviews make a big difference. Then when we send it out and tell somebody to come onto the show, they see it and they say, "Oh, they have 800 reviews. That's a legitimate podcast," or whatever the number is. And we're at 80. I know 800. There's probably 20,000 people listening to this right now. If all 20,000 went and did that, is that too much to ask? If 15,000 went and did it, that would really, really help us. I know that's a lot to ask. You don't have to do anything else. We don't charge you anything to watch this show, right? Do we? Shoot.
No, I don't think
we do. We should charge people for this.
I think we should wait on that.
Okay. Well, since we're not charging anybody, please do that. I know there's a little housekeeping. We just wanted to clear that up, but I know Reavers has a million fantastic stories.
Okay, so the first one I wanted to get to, and I brought this up with the mayor before the Garage Logic podcast, but those of you that listen to our show obviously listen to GL, so you heard us discuss this for a brief moment during the news. But we had some pretty big news today. President Trump said today that a ceasefire between Israel and Iran was in effect. and it appeared to be holding on Tuesday afternoon after 12 days of deadly conflict between the Middle East's arch rivals. Earlier in the morning, Trump voiced frustration with both countries and accused them of violating the agreement he had announced just hours earlier. Israel accused Iran of breaching the agreement minutes after it was intended to take effect and said it would respond forcefully. But after a last-minute intervention by Trump, including a phone call with Prime Minister Netanyahu, the bombardments appeared to cease. Let me get rid of this pop-up ad. Thank you. Trump said Monday night that Israel and Iran had agreed to a complete and total ceasefire, a move he said would end the 12-day conflict. The ceasefire would take hold in stages, the president said. A White House official told CBS News that Iran would halt strikes against Israel from midnight Eastern time, and Israel would stop striking Iran 12 hours after that from noon on Tuesday. Another 12 hours after that, or at midnight on Wednesday morning, the war would be considered over. However, the president voiced a little frustration this morning when he was confronted by a reporter before he got him. Now, Air Force One is the airplane. What's the name of the helicopter? Air Force helicopter, whatever it's called. Yeah. So you could hear it in the background as the president said,
"They don't know what the
bleep they're doing."
You understand that?
And he didn't say bleep.
That is kind of funny, isn't it? That he'd say that.
Okay, so the reason I want Marine One. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So here's what I said to Joe earlier, Michael, and I'm interested to get your perspective on this because I was driving in today, and that's another thing I want to get to, but I was driving in today, and I thought, you know what? What if this works?
Sure.
You know, again, I know on our show we get a lot of email about on GL. We get a lot of email about, well, you're not, you guys are euphoric. Well, I think we do a good job of staying centered and staying balanced.
Try to.
And when you offend both sides of the political aisle, that means that you're probably doing a good job of staying centered and staying balanced. Sure. Now, all five of us don't agree on everything. You and I are kind of aligned in a lot of ways, but sometimes we might disagree on certain things. But the point is, whether you like him or not, whether you like his approach or not, whether you're convinced he's got the best intentions or not, what if this works? What if his approach works?
I think it's so weird because everyone freaks out about Trump's foreign policy. All Trump does is say exactly what he's going to do. Iranians, you have 60 days to talk to us. If we can't figure something out in 60 days, it's going to be bad for you. And then he'll say, real bad. Bad. It's going to be so bad, right? He'll tell them that. Well, sure as shit, 61 days after they stopped negotiating or when the negotiation stopped and we didn't get anywhere, on the 61st day, Israel went in and said, watch this, right? Hold my beer. And they went and did it. And then he said, well, we're going to have to go in and use these bunker busters. If we can't get into Fordo, he tells everybody. He's not hiding behind a curtain. He's telling everybody what he's going to do. I did think, we talked a lot about those bunker busters, right? And we dropped 14 of them on these 3 sites. And what I thought was very interesting about that is it was inevitable that was going to happen, Reavers. Even if Israel would have been able to strike those sites, which they did 2 of the 3, if they would even have gone to Fordo and struck Fordo and it might have hurt it, no matter what, we were going to have to use the bunker busters. Do you know why I think that?
I can usually wrap my head around your line of thinking, but I'm curious. Okay, just help me.
We've never used them in an active war setting before. They've only been tested.
So to bring a sports analogy in, this would be the equivalent of a football team, let's say the Vikings, not running any plays in the preseason because you don't want your opponent to know what might be coming.
Right. Well, at some point in time, someone at Boeing said, Mr. Trump, President Trump, we've tested these and we know they work, but this might be a great time to test them a little bit more in an active war zone. Like, let's get the B-2s doing the right things. Let's get the bombs dropped. Let's drop 14 of them. Let's drop 14 of them. Because remember that Boeing makes these things for about $15 million a piece. So almost $300 million. Boeing's going to, now that they worked, the U.S. government's going to have to say to Boeing, hey, we need at least another 14 to get our stockpile back up there. It's the same thing as Nagasaki and Hiroshima, right? You made the bomb. You have to use it at least once. Some people might say we got a little greedy dropping it twice, right? We had to prove to people that it works. And with these bunker busters, I believe Trump said, you're right, we need to test these son of bitches. Let's do it. Let's drop 14 of them. I think 14 seems like a lot. And I don't know if it's the cheap guy in me who says they're $15 million a piece. couldn't you just have dropped a couple of them? Like, you still would have got the same effect, right?
You want better value.
I don't know.
Okay.
Another thing about this Fordo, and I'm probably not saying the site's name right because I've heard it pronounced a lot of ways, right? But this Fordo nuclear site, they hadn't dropped any bombs on it before we dropped this big bunker buster, right? And I thought, well, it has to have a door, Reavers, right? Someplace, if you just keep bombing that door, there's guys like me that work in Iran for that site, and they'd say, you know what? I'm going to call in sick today because I don't want to get bombed walking in, or I don't want the fire to start, or why did we wait? That's really a weird thing. The Israelis were at war with Iran for 10 days or whatever, 12 days at that time, right before we dropped the bunker busters. Yet they never attacked Fordo. Yet we knew that was a site we all thought was the biggest problem. Why wouldn't we just continually, every 30 minutes, drop a bomb there for those last 10 days and have people say, well, we're not going to take anything out of it because they'd bomb us. We're not going to go into it because they'd bomb us. We can't get to the door because it's on fire. It just seemed like a really easy thing. And I bet you those bombs that Israel was dropping were less than $15 million. Is it a conspiracy theory for me to think?
I don't think so. And I don't think it is, because so much of this was done in secrecy.
Sure. For
obvious reasons. And I love the idea that, because remember, it started with, I can't remember which news outlet had reported that President Trump plans to come up with a plan for Iran within the next 2 weeks.
Sure.
Well, 30 hours later, there's the plan. There's the plan. But what I find interesting is, and I saw there was a video of a flight inside of a B-2. I doubt it's the actual one that dropped the bunker busting bombs, but it was interesting to see how steady the pilot was, and the fact that these are equipped with a sleeping quarters and rest, because it's 18 hours there, 18 hours back. You ain't stopping at a rest stop.
And it's like American Airlines Wi-Fi, so it's never going to work.
Right.
So they have no Wi-Fi. They can't even catch up on Orange is the New Black.
Well, and they probably don't want to, because you don't want any reason for anyone to be able to pick up a signal on your whereabouts.
Yeah, it was a great... People are talking like it was the world's most successful bombing trip. I assumed we could do this. It didn't surprise me that we could take a $2 billion plane, not get it shot down, drop these bombs. It seems like we should be able to do that, right? And what I really thought is, let's give me your cartoon bubble of this one, Reavers.
Okay.
So I'm the Ayatollah, right? And I'm there, and I said, hey, a-holes, I got to do something back to you guys. You just dropped the bomb. You ruined our nuclear aspirations. I have to do something. So does he call Qatar and say, hey, Qatar, there's a military base, the United States, in your country. We're going to lob some bombs your way. They're going to drop like 8 miles ahead of where we're trying to hit, right? And then Qatar calls the president and says, President, to save face with their people, the Ayatollah needs to drop some bombs in Qatar. We're fine with it, as Qatar's going to be fine, and they're going to land in the desert, right? But what is that call? Who's making the call? Who do they call to say, hey, and then some guys say, hey, I just got a call from Qatar, Mr. President, they want to shoot some bombs over to us, 14 of them, because we dropped 14 bunker busters. They're not going to hit our base. They told us they're not going to hit our base, but they got to do it to save face. That's a weird call, isn't it?
It is weird, and it's almost like it's just one big giant negotiation, almost like it's a real estate transaction. Yep. Your person has to talk to their person, to talk to the seller, to talk to the...
Oh, you want to keep the pool table? Well, if you want to keep the pool table, then we're taking out the sprinkler system.
Correct.
Right? I mean, we got to do something. One thing that I think Iran, and I'm not trying to help Iran. I think
You're on record.
I'm on record. I'm on America's side. I think Iran should have never done anything. Let me go with this. When they got bombed, the beginning from the Israelis, they should have not done one thing. They should have said, oh my God, stop bombing us. Stop killing us. You're killing a bunch of people that are just here peacefully.
Didn't they do that initially?
Yeah, but then they responded with military force, right?
I got you.
But if they would have just said, stop. Why are you doing this to us? All we're trying to do is create nuclear energy. Stop. Then you know what would happen today? the number one flag on Amazon would be the Iranian flag, because people downtown would be wrapping themselves in the Iranian flag for the peaceful Iranians that are getting killed by the frightful, murdersome Jews, is what they'd say.
That's where I was going next.
Yes.
Because, Mike, I don't know if you know this, and I tend to try to make everything on this show about me.
Yeah, good. That's good.
But
I like that.
I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I have somewhat of a lengthy commute to and from the workplace. But you know what? I enjoy it. I enjoy where I live. I love where I live, and I love my job.
Sure.
It has become almost intolerable, the afternoon rush hour commute. And it stems from, most people are now back at work. There's very few people that are working from home anymore. And I've noticed that there's a little bit of road construction going on this time of the year.
I've heard.
And so from going to my destination from this building, there is no alternate. Because everything is just FUBAR.
You're going to be on 169 at some point.
It just doesn't matter. You're going to run into something somewhere. There's no secret route anymore. Well, anyway, the worst part about it is when you go southbound on 35W out of downtown, you get past the crosstown, and I either have the option of hitting 494, which is also a disaster, or staying the course and getting down to maybe Old Shakopee or something to cut over. But there's a bridge in Richfield that overlooks 35W, and in both directions, northbound and southbound, you come to an absolute freaking standstill. And do you want to know why?
I know why, but you tell me why.
Because these jobless asshats are waving their, 1 week it's let's wave the Ukraine flag, and yesterday let's wave the Iranian flag, and get off the bridge. I can't. Here's the thing. There's always accidents there because people are slowing down to look up at these fools, and then someone behind them isn't paying attention.
So are they protesting? Here's a question that I have.
It's mostly we stand with whatever.
Okay.
Support your cause. But it's every day. It's every freaking day.
What I understand pacifism, like, as a thing, right?
Yep.
And I could see people being pacifists, like, I do not believe we should support the war in Ukraine. Right? I could see people saying that. I do not believe that we should support Israel's war against Iran. I get that. People are pacifists. They don't want anybody to die. I get that. But what do you think? Do you think the people standing on the bridge are saying, America is so horrible, we're killing these sweet, kind Iranians that say death to America, death to Israel?
Right.
I mean, I don't want citizens of Iran, standard people of Iran, to be killed. I don't.
Yep.
Right? And I don't think any American does. But the people who are controlling Iran, Rivers, when you read some of the stories.
Oh, it's awful.
They had this series of 12 women who wanted to speak on behalf of something. And you know what they did to them? They cut out their eyes.
Yeah.
All 12 women. And I thought, wait. Some man in that country said, all right, ladies, you wanted to do this. They wanted to wear undergarments in the street, I think is what it was, right? So they wanted to be like in a swimsuit in the street. And they said, watch this. And we're going to go ahead and cut out your eyes. Not just killing people. I mean, killing people is egregious, right? When that one girl wanted to not wear a job and she didn't wear it out on the street and they beat her to death or killed her, right?
Yep.
Famous person, I'm forgetting her name. But these 12 women who just wanted to wear a swimsuit or something less than a hijab out on the streets, and they cut their eyes out. That's a sick, weird thing.
It's a demented society.
Something's not right about that, right?
100%.
Yet, if you meet people from Iran, which I don't know anybody,
right?
Have you ever seen the television show 90 Day Fiancé?
I don't think I have.
There's a guy.
I get the concept, but I have not watched the show.
There's a guy from Iran who just came here, right? Met this girl from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, right? This blonde. And he's this kind of guy who's just honest. And the first thing she does to him when he gets here, because Hattiesburg is real close to New Orleans, takes him down to Bourbon Street. And he's looking at Iran and he said, everyone would be dead here. Everyone, what they're doing here in my country, you would be jailed. You'd never see your family again. You could never do this. And you could see him thinking, one, this is amazing that you can do stuff like this in America and not be killed. And then two, this seems like a little too much, right?
Sure.
It's
overwhelming.
He'll say, like, now that I'm with this girl, I can never go back to my country because they would kill me if I went back to my country now that I've been on the show. I think,
Interesting.
what a weird thing.
Wow.
It's absolutely weird, Reavers.
His name is Mike Fredoloni. My name is Chris Reavers. This is the Weekly Scramble Podcast, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Weekly Scramble Podcast. I want to mention our friends at North American Banking Company. Our buddy Michael Bilski, he is the owner of North American Banking Company, and that's the beauty of them here in the Twin Cities. They are locally owned and operated. And that means you business owners, well, you have the advantage because loan decisions are made right here in the Twin Cities. They are not sent out of state. In fact, I got a great email from Greg who did this very thing and thanked me for recommending North American Banking Company to him and his small business. And that's what they're going to be able to do for you as well. With 6 Twin Cities locations to serve you, you can see them in Roseville, 50th in France, Hastings, Woodbury, Shoreview, and Maple Grove. They offer all of the services as the other big national banks, whether you're looking to buy a home, maybe finance a new home renovation project, or get that new car that you've been thinking about. My friends at North American Banking Company are going to be able to help you out. And spring is here. We're actually into summer right now. So if you've got that big project, then why not put your home's equity to work? And that's because a home equity line of credit from North American Banking Company is going to give you flexible access to funds when you need them most. So check them out online today. It's nabankco.com to learn more. It's banking done differently. North American Banking Company, member FDIC, is an equal housing lender. Michael, I mentioned Mr. Bilski. Mm-hmm. He is a huge fan of golf. He did the show with us out at the golf show back in February. Yeah. And you had a LIV Golf story that you wanted to get to, and I was completely unaware of it. And normally, I'm pretty in tune because Joe and Pat on Mondays love to rip the crap out of LIV any chance that they get. But I was completely unfamiliar with this story.
Do you know when that term, like, here, hold my beer?
Sure.
Well, LIV Golf just said to Bud Light, here, hold my beer. Do you want to read the story, Reavers?
I will give you just 1 second to pull it up here.
See, Reavers has been sitting and working with Joe Souchere, the head honcho of the Garage Logic podcast, and you see his cadence, right?
Yep.
And I can barely read. I went to the University of Minnesota for 9 years. So I barely do it. But you have such smooth reading ability.
Thank you. So, as Michael mentioned, it looks like the Saudis shop the Bud Light fire sale. This is from Yahoo Sports. The disgraced former marketing executive who tanked Bud Light's brand has landed a new job at LIV Golf in an unlikely pairing between a corporate woke warrior and the controversial Saudi-backed sports league. LIV is staying mum about its decision to hire former Anheuser-Busch VP Alyssa Heinerscheid, thank you, who has been working at a league in a team business operations role since September, according to her LinkedIn page. Heinerscheid's reputation turned radioactive after her dismissal from Bud Light, where her woke rebranding crusade included a widely panned partnership with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney, and it cost the company $1.4 billion in sales and billions more in market cap.
Wow.
That's astonishing. When reached by the Post, LIV's chief communications officer, Alana Finley, declined to comment on the league's decision to hire Heinerscheid, but a former Anheuser-Busch executive said it's likely that LIV swooped in to snatch her up on the cheap. My guess is that LIV was probably able to get somebody relatively inexpensive to come join them and take some of her experience working at the biggest beer company in the world. A former colleague of Heinerscheid's who has since founded a venture capital company, told the Post. Whew.
You know, one thing that Yahoo Sports doesn't do is they don't understand business or logic at all.
Sure.
So whoever wrote that story said LIV Golf had to get her on the cheap. LIV Golf doesn't give two craps about getting someone on the cheap.
Thank you for saying that.
Right? They are the Saudi-backed. They could go get the best marketing people in the world. Reavers, we're going to do a little cosplay here, right? I'm going to pretend. You pretend you're LIV Golf.
Okay.
And I'm going to pretend that I'm Alyssa Heinerscheid.
Okay.
And so you ask me about my work experience.
Well, Ms. Heinerscheid, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate your time and giving us the chance to get to know you a little bit better. Tell us about kind of your experience and what would make you a great fit in the role as marketing executive here at LIV Golf.
Well, first of all, I'd like to tell you that my pronouns are she, her.
Okay, that's
and do a
strike
quick
one.
land acknowledgement that at this one point in time, I'm sitting in the Damakwa River Valley.
All right, that's strict too.
And one other thing that I think is very important that I believe in equity and inclusion above all else.
We're going to be here for a while.
But more importantly, I want to tell you about the success that I've had at Bud Light. And for years, we were really winning. And then I realized that Bud Light was filled with frat boys. So what I wanted to do, dirty frat boys. So what I wanted to do is take away that frat boy image and lift up Bud Light in everyone's eyes, make it more elegant, right? So I decided to give a 6-pack or a 12-pack of private label bottles to Dylan Mulvaney. You may or may not know her. It's a her because it's a her.
Okay.
Right? And the results of that were amazing. The amount of reach on social media, billions of dollars worth of social media content. It was unbelievable. And you can ask me probably how sales went.
So based upon that logic and reasoning, Miss Heinerscheid, I'm going to guess that you saw probably a difference in budgetary things in terms of market cap and things of that nature with your brand.
Yeah, I almost destroyed the brand single-handedly. I mean, I drove it down to almost zero sales. It was the butt of every joke for multiple years. But I believe I can take LIV, which is filled with frat boy golfers. That's all they are, is frat boy golfers. But I think I can take it and do something meaningful with this brand. Reavers, there is not a price that why wouldn't she move to a different business than marketing? Right? On your resume, you have the nuclear bomb of events on your resume. And someone's going to say...
someone was dumb enough to bring you on.
Honest to God, I don't get what were they possibly thinking?
Okay. Now something just hit me. Mm-hmm. Because one thing that LIV is very good at, they know how to stir up attention, right?
But you'd want this attention?
Well, but hear me out.
Oh.
Hear me out. We're what? We're a week removed from the U.S. Open.
Sure.
We're a couple weeks yet away from the Open.
Yeah.
Nobody is talking about LIV right now. I mean, even Joe and Pat, two guys that love to do nothing but rip LIV. They haven't even brought LIV up in a. Well, I guess they'll casually mention, well, this guy, the top LIV golfer, finished 7th at the U.S. Open or whatever.
Sure.
But it's very casual. And these are two guys that love talking about golf. Here's my point. My point is they were looking at, hey, how can we get some attention, whether it's social media, whether it's whatever. And maybe that was the I don't know, because it doesn't make any sense
Honest
whatsoever.
to God, Reavers, I would rather have them post a story about LIV golfers having a cockfighting ring and that all the golfers were betting on that. That would be a better story than we hired the chick who destroyed Bud Light.
Okay, so do you remember when
cockfighting ring? That was kind of funny. You
not
didn't
bad,
laugh at
not
all.
bad.
You didn't giggle at all.
Well, because I was trying to remember when did this firestorm start? Was it about a year ago?
With Bud Light?
Yes.
No, a couple years ago.
Was it a couple years ago? Okay. The reason I'm asking is I remember whenever the viral video of Kid Rock shooting a case of Bud Light saying this is the last time a Bud Light can will ever be on my property or something to that effect, right? And that's when it really started. You started to say, uh-oh, Bud Light's in trouble. And I remember, I don't recall where we were, but we were out of town on vacation somewhere. It might have been 4th of July or whatever. And I remember we were at a gigantic retailer.
Sure.
And we weren't in the state. I forget where we were, but we were traveling. We might have been either in Indiana or Missouri, or I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. But I remember being in this gigantic shopping center. So think of like a Target with groceries, right? And the beer aisle that we went down, I mean, it was 4th of July.
Sure.
There was very little to choose from except for
Bud Light.
Yeah. And I'm not joking. It was the only thing that was full. In fact, I might have sent you a photo of that.
April of 2023 is when it kicked off.
Oh, God. So it was 2 years ago.
Yep.
Okay. So I think it was 4th of July.
Well, remember our friends from Elevated Beer, Wine, and Spirits?
Yep.
They said that they would normally sell about 200 cases of Bud Light a week, and they had sold 1. I mean, that is a big decrease, right? 99.5%. That is crazy.
I don't think they've recovered.
Oh, I don't think so either. I don't think so.
And I know with their marketing campaign, they went all in on the comedian and Post Malone. They did those Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah.
Shane Gillis?
Shane Gillis, exactly.
Shane Gillis and those commercials were hilarious.
They were hilarious.
And I love both of those guys. I love Post Malone and I love Shane Gillis.
I said this
I'm still
before.
not buying Bud Light. Well, I don't really drink beer.
Totally said this before. Bud Light should have said, "Oh my God, settle down. Who gives a crap? Drink your Bud Light. Shut up. We'll send everybody a free Bud Light." They should have said that when that happened. But they tried to pussyfoot around it.
I don't know that would have worked, though. Do you?
I think, because a guy would have said, "You're right. Who cares?" They said, "We sent a dozen beers to somebody. Who cares? How about we buy the rest of the frats, everyone else a beer, and they could have given everybody in America a beer."
Everybody in America would have accepted that free beer, and I still think would have said, "No, not supporting your brand," because they didn't. They did the one thing that you're never supposed to do, and you know this as a business guy. They absolutely stuck their middle finger up to their base.
Yeah, to their base.
That's exactly what they did.
And their base is 95% of the same dude, right?
Yes.
Their base isn't 43%. We have a plurality of people like this. This 43% make up our base. No, your base is the same dude. It's the me, the you, the guy who likes light beer. 95% of us were the same kind of dudes, right?
And it was at a time too in this country where, go back to April of 2023. America was fed up with the woke mind virus.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why President Trump started to gain a lot of steam and ultimately got elected again, because America was tired of this crap. And that's a big part of how that played a role in the entire downfall of the brand.
They still have not recovered from what it says. I'm trying to find what percentage are they down.
Well, it's got to be 1.4 billion. I mean, what is that of their annual sales?
Yeah, but I think, at this point in time, some analysts estimate that sales are still down roughly 40% before the boycott. 40%.
So over 2 years.
So this Alyssa, God bless her. She might be a great gal.
Sure.
Right? I don't know her. I'm making fun of her. I don't know her. Maybe she's great. I feel like a dink every time I do that to somebody because I don't know her. I don't know her. She could be a great person. But she was involved in making the decision that plummeted Bud Light sales down 40%, that are still down 40% 2 years after it happened, right? 2 years after it happened.
Yep.
What is Liv thinking to say, let's see what she can do for us? Like, what is she going to bring? And why won't she get into real estate? Why won't she just do something different and not be the lightning rod of this issue anymore?
I don't even think she could do that because someone's going to search her and say, I don't want anything to do with this person. I think you need to escape the public sphere altogether.
Yeah.
And maybe work for yourself. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but yeah.
Manufacturing.
There
She
you
should
go.
start working for one of the new companies that's coming back to America to manufacture.
That's Mike Fratelloni. I'm Chris Reavers. This is the Weekly Scramble podcast, and we will be right back. Michael, I'm a sports fan.
Yes.
I have been a sports follower for quite some time.
And a player.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I love talking sports with my two sons. It's kind of what bonds us together, and we spend a lot of time in the car driving to a baseball game to and from, and that's what we talk about. Mm-hmm. So the news surfaced over the weekend that the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most preeminent brands in all of the world, one of the largest here in the country, sold for a reported $10 billion. And I said, wait, what?
Seems like a lot.
And it was sold by the Buss family. Dr. Jerry Buss had bought the team, I believe, in the late 60s for around $68 million. I'm going with stuff off the top of my head. And I believe he has 6 children. Jeannie Buss, his daughter, was the head of the operation. And she's going to stay on to remain as the governor and the Buss family is going to retain a certain percentage of ownership, and she's going to retain her role as governor. And the guy that bought the franchise is also the owner of the Los Angeles
What's her name?
Dodgers.
Becca? What was her name?
Jenny Buss.
Oh, it wasn't Becca Buss. That's okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
I was going to say hit by, but I couldn't come up with a girl's name for hit by.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but Jenny Buss had also appeared in Playboy years ago.
Oh, she did?
Yes.
Are you making that up?
I am not.
Can I search for it on this computer?
100%.
Okay,
that's
go
Joe's
ahead.
computer.
As you're talking, let me see.
But anyway, so when I saw that number, I just went, wait a minute, what?
What else could you buy for $10 billion?
Well, okay, so one of my favorite shows had posed this question, so I'm 100% going to mooch this question because I thought of the exact same thing. And the question was basically, would you rather own the Los Angeles Lakers or would you rather have $10 billion? And to me, it's absolutely a no-brainer.
Yeah, but you don't, those two are not the same, right? Because you buy the Los Angeles Lakers with some money. So let's say you put down $1 billion. So the question should be, would you rather own the rights to a $10 billion asset like the Lakers or have one less $1 billion? Right? Does that make sense? You have to pay the $10 billion, but you don't take all $10 billion out of your bank account to go buy it. No one's paying cash for the Lakers.
Right, but and so you're gonna make however much money for years,
and you're gonna pay some finance charges.
And all the while you get to sit front row and you get to hobnob with all the social.
I mean, $10 billion seems like a lot. Is that one of the highest paid ever franchises?
Let me go back to so I would rather take the $10 billion because here's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
I'm going to take the $10 billion. I'm going to buy the Twins for $1.7 billion. And keep in mind, I did not know this. The Lakers don't even own their arena that they play in.
Okay. So
their arena is owned by the owner of the Los Angeles Kings hockey team, and the Lakers are merely tenants there.
They'll get their own.
But this guy is buying a brand, essentially. Mm-hmm. He is buying a brand. He is, and I get it. They're everyone in America that isn't even a sports fan knows who the Los Angeles Lakers are. And I guess to answer your question, I would guess there's. Oh, do you have the list in front of you?
So
hold on, don't tell me.
Okay.
Let me try to guess.
Yeah.
So you're guessing what brands or what sports teams would have a higher value?
What franchise of any sport has a higher value than that $10 billion?
And you're just talking about here in this country.
Yep. No soccer.
Well, number one is easy. It's got to be the Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys. Do you have any idea what they're worth?
Well, if the Lakers are 10, is this fairly recent?
I mean, in 2025.
I would say...
I'm asking AI, so it's got to be right.
I would say if the Lakers are 10, the Cowboys own their facility, and I would say north of 12, maybe 13.
They have it at $10.1 billion.
Oh, it's got to be more than that.
It probably is now if that
because if the Lakers are sold.
Number two is going to really surprise you.
Okay, I would guess the Yankees, but the way you say it makes me think it's not the Yankees.
No. Can I tell you the league?
Sure.
NBA.
The Golden State Warriors?
Golden State Warriors, $8.8 billion. So now let me ask you this.
Okay.
Would you rather buy the Golden State Warriors for $8.8 billion or the Los Angeles Lakers for $10 billion?
I probably would pick the Warriors.
Why?
Because, again, they own their facility.
Okay.
It's brand new.
Sure.
The facility, they just built it. You've got... obviously a world-class superstar in Steph Curry, because I'm thinking in terms of, well, I can make all this money on every concert that comes through the door.
But you don't think that Los Angeles will say, the Los Angeles Lakers will go to the city of Los Angeles and say, hey, we need a new arena. It's going to be a $1.6 billion basketball mecca. Concerts are going to be there. Plays are going to be there. All this stuff's going to be there.
Well, I can answer that.
Get that value.
I can answer that because the Clippers just did this, and their owner paid for the entire facility himself.
That's the Clippers. This is the Lakers.
But the city of Los Angeles will say, we're broke. We're California.
You think California is going to say no because they're a little bit in debt?
But the Lakers aren't in a position where they're going to say, well, we're not going to move to Phoenix, or, not Phoenix because they already have a team.
Move back to Minnesota.
Well, but I'm saying they're not going to say we're going to move to Kansas City.
Sure.
We got to stay in L.A. We're the Los Angeles Lakers. So the city of Los Angeles can say, we're not giving you squat.
Top five, we had Dallas Cowboys, $10.1 billion. Golden State Warriors, 8.8.
So it's got to be the Yankees.
Los Angeles Rams, 7.6. Yankees, 7.55. And then the New York Knickerbockers at 7.5.
I would have guessed the Knicks would have been higher too. Okay.
Really? Because
surprises you know why the NBA values are that high? It's the television contracts.
Sure.
Because the TV contracts are just absolutely gone bonkers. So when you get mad about paying $200 for your DirecTV bill, that's why.
So I was looking up the values, right? These are the values of the teams.
Okay.
I didn't look up the purchase price. What was the largest purchase price? Because nothing's ever come close to $10 billion.
Well, it had to have been the Celtics most recently because the Celtics just sold for $6 billion.
Okay, so that
couple months ago.
That had to be pretty big.
Yeah, it was. Right? Well, it was just north of $6 billion, and that was, I want to say, March. February. It was a couple of months ago.
So really, A-Rod got an incredibly good deal.
Oh, that's what I was saying. That's why I would take the 10 bill, and I'll buy 2 different teams.
How many baseball franchises could you buy for $10 billion?
Well,
at least 10 of them, probably.
You could buy the Twins. You could buy the Tampa Rays because they're both for sale right now.
Yeah.
You could probably also get
Padres,
the Oakland A's. No, the Padres actually have pretty good value.
Okay.
And it's, again, based upon
Are the Expos still a thing?
No, they are now the Washington Nationals.
What about that team in Milwaukee? That seems like
the Brewers.
Team.
Yeah, you could.
Brewers
actually good
team, but cheap.
Yeah,
right?
You could probably get the Brewers in there too. You could buy a lot of baseball teams.
You could buy. That's what you would do. Because you would love owning multiple baseball teams.
What I would do, in all honesty? I would buy the Tampa Rays, and I would say, all right, Tampa, here's the deal. You and I are going to work out a stadium deal. Hopefully we can find something pretty cool and close to the water, right there in the bay or whatever. Oh, if that's not going to happen, I'm moving this team to Montreal and we're bringing back the Expos.
Oh,
that's what I would do.
That's what you.
That's 100% what I would do.
And
I would kill it with merchandise because us baseball nerds, anytime you see an Expos hat, you go, sweet hat, dude.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that. I must have been hit in the head pretty hard.
Why is that?
Because I wouldn't care about the Expos, but I did fall the other day, and I did hit my head really hard.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So what happened is I went to go get an MRI, and I brought my dog, and the doctor said, dogs can't run MRIs, Mike. And I said, oh, but cats can? Cats can?
Cats can.
People complain about our jokes. And I don't believe it because I think that's the best part of the entire show.
I do
that
too.
part, and when I say Reavers, you are the best.
Thank you, Michael. As he mentioned earlier in the show, please do us a favor, rate and review the show wherever you happen to be listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast. It helps other people find the show, and it does really help us out as well, and we really do appreciate it. His name is Mike Fredoloni. My name is Chris Reavers. Thank you so very much for listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast. We'll talk to you again next time. Until then,